Hey everyone, so I recently finished Bastion, and today I want to share my review about the game. So basically, I bought it because I had a very good experience on another game called Transistor, so I wanted to check out the previous title by the same studio, Supergiant Games. If you don't know what it is, it's an indie action RPG hack and slash game. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the world design. Now, from the outside looking in, when you first look at it, I got the impression that it would be annoying to play with all of these tiny little blocks popping up where you're walking. But eventually you actually find it really cute and it's kind of fun and adds a lot of value to the game. The actual mechanics revolve around it as well, especially towards the last quest of the game, but just in general, you get used to it and it's pretty fun. Now, the weird, lifting block geography will change throughout the world. It doesn't look the same the whole way through. The first hour I felt like was inspired by something like India. Throughout the middle or halfway of the game, it's extremely swampy with toads and that kind of stuff. And then finally, what you're seeing in the background now, which is near the end of the game. Now, let's talk about combat. This is a very important part about this game because it is a hack and slash and an indie action RPG, so let's get into it. Now, it's very simple and fairly fluid. Now, occasionally you will have to wait for longer animations, but in my opinion, this isn't really an issue and just kind of part of the game, I guess. I felt like, if I was using a big, heavier skill, the animations were a little bit longer. I believe this is intentional. Now, the cool thing about the combat is it's always changing. Bastion does a really good job at throwing interesting things in front of your face all the time. The pacing is perfect. Now, it's kind of like every 30 minutes that you're playing a game, it's like, hey, here's a machete that you can use instead of your hammer if you want. Then like 30 minutes later, hey, here's a bazooka if you don't want to use your crossbow anymore if you want. It's kind of like that and consistent the whole way through. And it was kind of weird because when you get towards the end of the game, you're like, man, are they still introducing new items? I'm not going to have time to even use them by the time I get them. Yes, the whole way through, even towards the end, you get the weirdest looking item ever. Okay, character progression. Now, it's actually very simple. And what I've noticed is a lot of the systems kind of come in two. So let me go on and explain this. So the progression consists of two main features. Getting more potions, which act the same as passives. When you get a level up, which is actually quite slow, the leveling process, you get a brand new potion that you can equip. You get a couple of choices. It might do, plus 10% on this or whatever it is. Now, I actually finished the game at level 4, so I only really got to choose 4 potions to actually equip. Now, the second progression system is upgrading weapons and skills. You get a choice between 6 skills. You're going to find items throughout the game that they're kind of like crafting materials. You don't have to craft anything. They're just like items that unlock the next skill or whatever. The upgrades do pretty simple stuff as well. Nothing insanely overpowered. Things like, plus 10% chance of critting. And then the next skill might be plus 100% chance of doing crit damage. Now, you also get other ones as well that are a lot more powerful. For example, if you're using the bow, you might have, your arrows now pierce through one target. And then later on, your arrow now pierces through 2 targets. That kind of stuff, pretty simple, easy choices. You're not going to spend a lot of time worrying about, I'm overwhelmed by it all. It's very fun and suiting for the game as well. So you've also got the chance to use abilities as well. Now, what these are kind of like ultimates, but they're not quite as ultimate. They're more just like one-off abilities. And if you notice the black potion on the screen, when I use an ability, it takes up one of those potions. So you actually have a very limited amount, but the game consistently drops more potions throughout your gameplay, so you never feel like you're taxed. In fact, I very rarely used all of my abilities in a map. Sometimes I found myself forgetting about it altogether. But anyway, I ended up using it to compensate for my AoE. So I went for very high single target DPS. Based on the mob types, it was very single target. You don't get swarmed too much until a little bit later on. So I did end up using a grenade skill as an AoE. Speaking of getting swarmed, I'll talk about the difficulty. The game's fairly easy, especially at the start. Now, it does ramp up towards the end, but overall, it's a pretty medium skill level. I think I died a couple of times actually, which I was surprised, but I didn't actually die until, say, the last hour of the game, and I might have only died, 3 or 4 times, maybe something like that. But here's the thing, there is a bit of a catch to the end game, which I will talk about towards the end. So Bastion overall took me around about 5 hours, actually it was exactly 5 hours to complete, but I did play through it very fast. The end game, let's just quickly talk about it. So it's extremely similar to Transistor, the other game from Supergiant Studios that I was mentioning earlier, the reason why I actually picked up Bastion. Now, you basically have the opportunity to find these things called idols, and they represent gods. And what does all this crap mean? Anyway, you put these idols in, and they give you a handicap. So it might be, enemies have extra health or do more DPS, but you get more XP. Pretty much exactly the same as Transistor. A fantastic endgame. One of those things where, I've completed the game. I don't feel the need to play it all over again, but I can guarantee you in 6 months, I might want to play through it for another round, and I'll be using the idols a lot. So I really do like this feature. If you're somebody who plays the game a lot, then you've definitely got some upgrades that you can do if it's too easy for you. And just a heads up, if you're a younger person, you can actually turn the game difficulty way, way down if it is a little bit tough for you. So anyway, what's my final review? I'm going to compare it to Transistor, even though they're totally different games. Bastion's pretty awesome from start to finish. The pacing is fantastic. I appreciate the fact that it's a small game, recommended 6 to 8 hours. I like these smaller games lately. I don't know why. I enjoyed Transistor's mature storyline and emotion of that game a lot more than I did Bastion, despite Bastion taking on a heavier topic. Genocide, basically. It's an above average game, and I did enjoy myself. I think there's a reason why over 3 million people have bought this game. And by the way, I only found out about that stat while doing a bit of extra research for this review. I can see why a lot of people bought it. It's cute, it's colorful, it's short, it's fun. It's got a lot of awesome features. For an indie title, it's amazing. I think the game's definitely worth picking up. I highly recommend it. You're going to enjoy it if you like single player games. And one more thing before I go, there's a thick American accent narrating to you almost 100% of the entire game.
But he'll be all right.
If you watch any of the gameplay, yeah, like the whole way through, you think this would be annoying, but it's actually kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know why. It's cool. Any other game, it'd be annoying, but for some reason, it gets pulled off in Bastion. Anyway, guys, see you next time.